Hi there and welcome to this video. In this video I'm going to show you how I textured this machete inside Substance Painter, and you can see here I did a concept of it, a little sketch, a little drawing of my machete, and it's going to have a wooden handle. These end pieces here, these two bits here, are going to be metal, and obviously the blade is going to be metal, and this pattern on the side here is going to be put on using a stencil basically into the height map. And down here you can see I've got a low version for sort of game size, 1500 1600 polygons, and here I've got a high detail version where I'm going to bake off my normal map from, and this one's 51,000 polygons. If I turn on the edges you can see how dense that is. It's pretty dense. I've already exported these as FBX files, so now we're going to jump into Substance and start painting the textures. I'll see you in there. Hi and welcome to Substance Painter. Okay, so here you can see I've got the low poly version of my machete, and the first thing we need to do is bake down our map. So if we go into our texture set settings here, you can see got our baking settings. If we click on this little plus sign, I want to add an ambient occlusion. Next thing, click on bake mesh maps here, and turn off ID because I'm not going to use it. Make sure it's 2048. I think that's plenty size enough. We want to use the high definition map, the high definition model, to create our normal map. So we want to select that like so. Everything else is fine and selected. Yeah, okay, so now we just bake them down by clicking this button down here. Click on that and you instantly see the mesh pop as it uses the high mesh to create our normal. And there it is. If you look at our normal map, click on here, hover over the image, and there you can see our normal map taken from the high definition model. Okay, so that's done, so let's turn that off. Yeah, it's done a pretty good job. There's one thing I've noticed, this is the compromise you have to make when you're using a high version of your mesh to create normal maps. You get, on a curve like this, you got to decide whether you want that curve on the inside. Let's turn it around. There you go. Or on the outside, and you can see here it's not that you have to make a decision, but this curve sits just inside the edge of the polygons on the high definition model. It sits, compared to the low, it's sitting inside and it's creating this appearance of a really smooth curve there. But in reality you can see it's just a normal map doing its job, and the profile of the low polys is still there. But soon, with the new consoles on the horizon, this could be much less of a problem, so we shall see. Okay, so let's turn this around. There we go. So that's our maps baked. We're going to start with the handle. Let's just delete this layer here first, and let's drop in a fill layer. I just like to do this and slap a big old red colour on it like that. There you go. Right, now let's mask off. Let's create another fill layer here, pink, and add a black mask. Let's just mask off our handle. And I will use my poly select tool here to do that, because it's just a lot easier. Make sure your color selector white, and just go through and select. Don't worry about selecting odd ones, we can get rid of those in a second. Just make sure you get all of the handle in like this. Yeah. And if you do catch any like that, just turn that back down to black and deselect them. There you go. It's a lot easier, a lot cleaner way of doing it, very simple. And yes, very good. So that's that done. So we now 3D only. Go back to my brush. There we go, and you can see I've got my handle nicely separated from the rest of the model. Now I want to use my grunges here, but I want to go into my materials down here, and I want to use this. What is this? Wood American Cherry, because it's a really nice sort of texture to it in terms of the wood. So I want to bring this in, drop it on the top. Don't worry about it covering the whole thing, even though it looks quite cool. Because what we can do now is add a black mask here. Let's just copy this mask, copy mask, right click, paste into mask. There we go. And now we can delete that layer. Cool. Okay, so first thing we want to do is make it much darker. So we click on our layer here, come down, it says wood color, and bring that right down. Down. Still want some color in it, but I do want it to be quite dark, like that. Let's see if we can't get a better seam down here, because that's not very good. I could change it to triplanar, but this is what will happen. It projects it weirdly. For something like this, the way I mapped it, I don't want my top. I could separate the top and have seams everywhere, and it's just not worth the pain. So I'm going to leave this on UV projection like so, and I'm going to play with these. I'm going to make this 2, scale it, make that 2. There you go, that's better. And let's play with this so we get roughly a similar colour there on the top. Offset it slightly. There you go, that's not bad, I like that. That's good. Yes. Okay, so that's a good start. Okay, I don't know what happened there. My recording kind of bombed out, and I glanced over and saw that it wasn't recording. I just switched it back on. So I'm going to go through quickly what I've done here. If I go back to where we were, I think I looked at the end of the bit that's been recorded, and I just put the wooden. Let me see. Put this on. That's where we were, I think. So all I did from here was add a dirt layer on the top, like that. And in that dirt layer, I added a grunge. I added a generator, which is this one. And it had lots of scratches. I played with I put a grunge scratches rough into the grayscale there, and played with some of these sliders to get that effect. And then I put another dirt layer on top just to break it up a little bit more, to give the surface, you see how smooth it is? Well, that sort of breaks it down a bit. And then I wasn't really happy with the shininess in it, but I didn't want to do an overall. I could have just brought down the slider on this wood roughness, but I didn't want to, because I want some of it to be shiny. So I added another dirt layer, pink on the top. That gave me this sort of pitted look. Inside this dirt layer, I added another generator, and I played with these values inside here, and you can see it works quite well. It's quite extreme. I can take it back if I want to, or pull it forward. It's entirely up to me, but I quite like it when it's up there somewhere. So I've still got my shine, but it's underneath all the dirt that I've added here. So, and that's cool, because it gives, I can control it then, how much shine and dirt I want on this handle. And once we get all the rest of the bits in, then it will make a lot more sense. And then I just created a folder on the top of that, just and put all this in so it's, you know, it's not in the way, so I can close that off. And that's my entire handle right there. I know it's coming through on here, but once this is masked out, it won't. And in fact, we're going to start doing this piece and this piece next. So let's do that. Let's create a fill layer over the top. Let's do a black mask. And now let's, like we did with our handle, select the mesh for the end piece here and for this piece up here. So let's go to 3D mode. Let's go to our polygons. Just select that. Okay, so it's these pieces over here, like this. Make sure you get it all. What's that? Go like that, and then this piece here, which I believe is these pieces here. There's a lot of space still in this map. I can use this for something else. I've got something else in mind that I'm going to be doing with this, and I'm going to use that space up for that, in case you're wondering. Okay, so just mask that off like that. There you go. So that's my two metal pieces there. Let's just go back to 3D. Give me that space back. Let's just push that down a bit. There you go. Putting the black mask onto the folder completely isolates the handle. Yeah, they won't affect the rest of the. There you go, that's fine. Okay, so steel. Don't like it. Let me just try this one here. Okay, now onto the blade. Now I've been working on it, so I'm just going to show you. I'll go through each layer in detail so you can see exactly what I've done. Okay, so the first thing I decided I wanted to do, I mean, everybody on these Substance Painter tutorials for weapons and things use sort of like a steel blade, and I thought let's try and do something a bit different. So I went for a painted look, a painted steel. So the first thing you do though is put down a steel, and I wasn't too fussed about what it looked like, as you know, in terms of the grain of it, and provided it was shiny and steel like, because that's what I want to come through when I put chips and that on my paint. So that's what I did. I just dragged steel from my materials down here, and that was the first layer I put on, steel worn. I think you can, if you haven't got that, I think you can get it in Substance Source. The second one I put on was steel painted. So you can see here I've got this steel painted, and it's black currently, but you know, you can, if you choose this option, you can make it whatever color you want. I thought just black looked really cool. And you can see I've got a generator on here, metal edge wear. That's really important because obviously you want some metal edge wear on your blade, because it's a blade that gets used a lot, obviously, so you want that edge wear on it. And yeah, so just play with these sliders, you know, whatever you want to do, not too much, otherwise it starts to look a bit not convincing, if you like. Yeah, it starts off like that, and I just inverted it, so it's cool. So that's all I did. I just put a steel painted on it. And down here, if you click on that, steel painted there, you can change the color of the paint in the paint color down here. So you know, I can make it any color I want pretty much, but I quite like it to be black. Yeah, and then I put a white mask, because it was flipped, and then an edge generator on the mask. So that's that. And then I put my pattern bump. Now I'm going to show you how to do this. This is all I did here was paint. Let me just show you. I have in my alphas, I have this alpha, and it's very hard to see because I wanted the alpha to define the strength of the imprint, and all I did was paint into the height map, and I'm going to show you that on the other side using my projection. So if I turn this around, in fact, if I leave it like that, just bring this light round, I'll show you what I did exactly. You can see it's quite bumpy on that side, but that's fine. We can take some of that out if you want to. So make sure it's lined up, go to your projection mode like this, and turn off everything except height on the layer you want to paint it into, and go and drag your material into your height map like this, and you can see it show up on the screen. So what you have to do, if you hold S, you can scale your image, you can rotate your image just like you can with your brushes, exactly the same, so you can position it exactly how you want it, basically like this. Let's try and get that there. That's it, that's exactly it. Okay, so that is where I want it slightly rotated around. Let's scale down a bit, move it over. Exactly like that. And then you just start painting. Now don't be scared when you see that, because what's going to happen here is it's going to pull it all out. But if you go all over like this, it kind of cancels it out. Like that. There you go. And it's not going on any of this other parts up here because I've got them masked out, so you're only doing it on the blade. And there we have it. You just go back to your brush mode. There we go, got it on both sides of the blade now. exactly what I wanted. There you go, that's cool. So that's how you do that, pattern bump. And then on this side here, let's just go back to here. Yeah, and I have this pattern paint here, but I kind of negated it. I started painting inside these grooves and I thought no. So I'm actually going to get rid of that. I'm actually going to bin it. So click on the bin up here to delete that. I'm not going to use that at all. So that's that. And then I've got a fill layer here, which has got this kind of very subtle grungy dirt on over the top of it all, pretty much, just to give it that sort of used look, basically. Just to give it that sort of tarnished sort of look about it. And that's all I've done so far to that layer. And that's all I've done to the blade so far, and I think it's actually come together quite nicely. I think I might just leave it at that. The only thing I'm going to add, I think, is... Oh yes, the other thing I added was blood. Yeah, I started to add a blood layer. I put this over the top, right at the very top of my 3 folders. That way I can just paint across. Oops, not like that. And you can see all I've got is the colour selected here. You know, I can paint that in there if I want to. And let me just go back to brushes here. Chink. You know, dirt spots. You know, I can paint some blood on it, and you can see I've started to, and it goes across all the layers because I've got it on the top, and you know, substance renders from the bottom upwards, so that's the last thing it's going to render. You can see I've got some little splatters here and there. On the handles and in the crevices and you know, where I want them, basically. Blood's a lot darker than that. It's dried blood, so I've got don't want it to be shiny, even though it is a little bit. So we can turn on the roughness here, and we can just crank that up so that it stands out nicely. Yep, like that. And so what I'm going to do now is just doing a sort of bit more of a sort of a hand painted finish to it now. Just some extra details, and when I've finished I'll show you the end result. Okay, so this is where I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to do any more to it than this. All I did was added a few more blood splats and blood detail, and I added some more marks on my blade. You can see down here. Now this is an asset that's game ready. You could use this in a game. The texture that builds this is 2048. It's quite low poly. It's 1500 polygons, and yeah, there's no reason why you couldn't take this and use it in a game. So if I was doing this for, you know, some CG or something much higher, everything would have been ramped up. So probably a 4K texture, many more polygons to get rid of this edge here, make it all nice and smooth, and yeah, a lot more detail. Maybe I'll do a version that is much higher detail, but you know, it is a game asset, and that's the point. So thank you for watching, and if you're interested in learning how to use Substance Painter, learning how to use something like 3D Studio Max and putting a scene together in Unity from start to complete 3D scene, then go and check out my Udemy course over at Udemy using the link below, where you will get a discount. I hope to see you over there. Thank you for your support. See you next time.